Working with the media is an important part of any Sertoma club. Positive press coverage can mean higher event attendance, increased brand awareness, more donations, and growing membership numbers. In today's training, we'll cover what your club needs to know when working with the media, along with special hints and tips for print, radio, and television. Let's start with what I call the discovery phase. It is during this time you'll want to do a little foundational research so that you can best understand who you'll be working with. First, you will need to figure out who covers what. Learn who's reporting on nonprofit organizations in the local community, especially those that do the kind of work your club does. Most print and online news publications still have beat reporters who report on specific subject areas. Even bloggers have specialties in that they tend to focus on a specific type of content in order to build a following in their area of expertise. You'll also want to think about radio and television personalities who oversee special interest pieces that might align with your club's mission. Find out who's in charge and talk to them. For newspapers, editors often have more control over story assignments than reporters. Don't be afraid to call the editor and pitch your story to him or her, then let that editor put you in touch with the right reporter. For magazines, talking with the managing editor is a good bet. This person assigns stories to the editorial staff and has a good sense of the publication story needs. In radio and TV, you'll often seek out a producer or news director. And finally, you need to make sure you're reaching out at the right time. Newsrooms are often hectic, so you'll want to take advantage of optimal timing when possible. For newspapers, this typically means calling early in the morning, while magazines offer a little more flexibility due to their longer deadlines. For radio and TV, it will depend on when the program you want to be part of airs. When in doubt, ask the person you're working with when they prefer to receive calls. Like most things, relationship building is important to working with the media. This means that once you've made a contact, you need to continue to develop that relationship. In addition to releases, send the occasional note letting the contact know what your organization's up to. If a special event is coming up, invite your contact well in advance to see if the outlet would be interested in covering the event. Another thing to keep in mind is that this is a process that never stops. People in the media move around all the time. Make sure each contact is still employed at the publication or station before reaching out. When someone new comes on the scene, you'll start this process all over again. It's all about keeping your contact list fresh. And lastly, is there a way to make sure that your media contact is a club partner? This can come in the form of membership, volunteering at an event, or even serving in leadership. Make sure that the activities you involve media contacts in are engaging, informative, and clearly benefit the community. You never know when they might mention your club and its efforts on air, on social media, or at a public event. Let's look at a few other general rules of thumb. Say thank you. Thank the editors and reporters who cover your club's news. This is a small gesture that many overlook. Share the coverage in your newsletters, at meetings, and on social media. Make sure to tag the media outlet and reporters when possible to increase your engagement. And offer your services. Many media outlets have fundraising and community service initiatives of their own. Offer up your club's volunteer service or financial support when possible. Now let's look a little bit closer at specifics for our different channels. For print publications, such as newspapers and magazines, much of your efforts will likely start with a press release. The modern press release needs to be written like a feature story. It should read like an article you would find in a publication, not like a dry, formulaic announcement. This shift towards storytelling in press releases stems in part from the smaller staff sizes at publications these days. Anything an editor or reporter can drop into a lineup without having to write the story from scratch is more likely to receive coverage. In other words, the less a reporter or editor has to do with your release to turn it into a story, the better. How can we be more effective in our efforts? Start your news item with a story that will draw the reader in. The more personal and specific that story is, the better. We do this by focusing on the people we help. For instance, it's easy for an organization to write about how much money it is given away. It's harder to tell what happened after the money was donated. In this case, your story isn't about the fundraiser that allowed the club to write the check. It's the impact that money made on someone's life or in the community. Another great way to assert your relevancy is to find a way to tie your club or event to other noteworthy news. See when the media in your community is talking about different subjects and tie your news item in with those trends. If your club focuses on hearing health, for instance, try to get media coverage of your work around the 4th of July, when noise-induced hearing loss is likely to occur. Next, give the release a strong pitch. Write several talking points that showcase the importance of your news item. These talking points should be simple, clear, and contain a call to action for the target audience. This is the language you'll use when you pitch your release to the media. You also need to make sure that you're submitting your release properly. Most media outlets will outline how it wants releases submitted on their website. Following submission guidelines can make the difference between getting your news release read and having it tossed out. And finally, follow up. Reach out to make sure your contact received the release and find out if they need any more information. Moving on to TV and radio. Whenever possible, send a personalized email about your club's news to the appropriate person at the station you're targeting. You can include a press release in this email, but the body of the email is the most important part of the communication. Address the person you are sending the email to by name and give them a reason to cover your story. Follow the email up in about a week with another email or phone call. A few other tips for working with TV and radio. Call the station's newsroom to find out general information, such as deadlines. Event news, for example, may need to be received several weeks before the actual event. The newsroom line can also direct you to the right contact for your club's news. Find out who's connected in your club. You'll be surprised who your members know. If you have someone, ask that person if he or she is willing to pitch stories on the club's behalf. Be professional by coming prepared. Have your talking points ready and practice what you're going to say. If someone from the media attends an event, make sure a member of the club greets, orients, and accompanies that individual. It's important to make a strong first and last impression on anyone who takes the time to come out and report on the work of your club. This concludes our training. Sertoma is proud to offer several templates and informational briefs to help your club in working with the media. You can find these resources, along with many other trainings, at members.sertoma.org. Don't forget, you can also join the conversation in Sertoma's Member Corner at the link on your screen.